Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Ben and Boz Excel tutorial series, and we are up to lesson 10. I'm Boz.
I'm Ben.
What's up, man?
I'm having a good day today. How are you doing?
I'm excited to talk about this one. I love data tables.
Do you have one of these that you're not excited to talk about?
I don't know, but this is extra exciting.
I'm pumped. I do love data tables. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, so the goals, we're going to understand how to use data tables. I oftentimes refer to that as sensitivity analysis as well. It's a huge one. Goal seek is kind of cool. And then also the color scales feature within conditional formatting. So three things we're going to show you.
So learning about colors today.
We will do a little bit.
So specifically, with the data table, we do have a few different PC shortcuts. Anytime you see the Alt and then a series, we're talking about using hotkeys in Excel. Boz and I, we actually don't really use these hotkeys, but if this is something where you're doing that all the time, it makes sense to use them. And then unfortunately for Macs, we looked at a few different Macs, few different versions, and we weren't able to find any way to actually use the hotkeys. So you'll just have to use the clicking on things like we're going to.
If anyone knows, go ahead and comment. So, but yeah, we do like some
Yes,
hotkeys,
please.
but not this one as much. So let's go into our example here. What this example is going to revolve around is you've got a sample company that wants to use share buybacks in order to generate earnings per share growth. So that's kind of the spirit of where we're going to get. And we're going to look at, okay, well, how is earnings growth going to be impacted by share price changes? How is it going to be impacted by the amount of the share buyback? I think you'll see it'll be pretty cool. So the base facts that we needed to look at here is that this company earned $5 million in 2018. They had earnings per share of $5 in 2018. Shares outstanding at the end of the year were 1 million shares. They have a share price of $100 at the end of 2018, and therefore they have a market capitalization of $100 million at the end of 2018. So we need some key inputs, and you'll understand this a little bit more. Let's just start with $100 there, Ben, I think. Let's start with 100 for our key input. We're just basically saying share price doesn't change up front. It could. And then the dollar amount to be repurchased, let's start with $1 million. All right, so we're going to say share price doesn't change. We buy back $1 million worth of stock, and what impact is that going to have on earnings per share? So I'll turn it to you.
I'll walk us through the earnings per share section here.
This is like base case.
Exactly. So base case 2018, our net earnings, we could just type in $5 million, but we're not going to do that. We're going to hit the equal sign, arrow key all the way up to get to the 5 million there. Our average shares outstanding, well, we have 1 million right here. And so we can just choose that 1 million again.
Because that's as of 2018 right now, yep.
And so our earnings per share is going to be net income, or net earnings divided by average shares outstanding, which gives us $5 per share. So, all right, we're good to go with that one.
Yeah, we had it above, nothing fancy, but we just need something to build off of.
Exactly, because ultimately we're going to go a percentage increase in earnings per share, so we need to set up this baseline. So 2019 then. We're just going to keep it simple, link back to the $5 million for net earnings. We're good with that. Average shares outstanding, this one gets a little bit more complicated, but it is also a lot more fun. So we're going to take the 1 million that we had, and then we're actually buying some back in this case. So we're going to go ahead and subtract however many shares that we're buying back, which we're going to calculate by taking the dollar amount that we repurchased, $1 million, divided by the $100 average share price. And so Boz is outstanding at mental math. He could do this in his head, but the idea here is we want to create a flexible model that is going to work for us. So if we hit enter, we're at 990,000 shares outstanding, and what we see is with the same earnings amount, if we just go ahead and Control C on the copy, hit enter on the paste, same equation there, we have an increase in earnings per share from $5 to $5.05. So same earnings, but fewer shares outstanding is driving an earnings per share increase of $5.05. Then to finish it up, to find our percentage increase, we are just going to do 5.05 minus the $5, and then we're going to divide it by our baseline, which is 2018. So again, you want it to be all linked, otherwise the tables that we're going to be working on in just a minute aren't going to work. Yep. We're at 1%.
Yep. So a very elementary base case here. So when we're looking at earnings, and that's because the point here is to learn the Excel features. So let's now go to table 1. And one thing that we're going to see is that the share price is going to actually impact the amount of the earnings increase that we can generate. So just hypothetically, Ben, type in A9, just type in $80 as an example. All right. Well, if the share price actually falls during the year, what that means is we're going to be able to buy back more shares. So actually, earnings per share will then go up. It'll go up. It used to be a 1% increase. It'll go up now to 1.1. Is that 1.3%?
1.3. Yeah, it's covering it there. Sorry.
All right.
And yeah, the reason for that is that our average shares outstanding went down. We were able, at an average price of $80, we're still spending $1 million. We can buy back more, which means there's fewer shares outstanding.
Yeah. So now we might want to look at it though and say, well, I mean, the share price, it could go maybe 20% down, 20% up. We don't want to have to just re-enter in those input boxes every time. We can use a data table. So up in table 1, we have pre-populated a potential range of share prices in $5 increments from 80 to 120. Again, this is just you have to select something. This is just what we selected. Now in cell H, is that H3 right there?
H3,
so
there we
I'm
go.
looking at the side. So in cell H3, let's type in equals. And now let's go link down on that 1.3% there in that cell C. Is that 17?
That's D17.
D17. So
cell D17, we have
I'm getting
that.
old and my eyes are bad.
All right, I'll take it over from here. How about that? Just to help your eyes a little bit. So, all right. So it's very important to link to that cell, the 1.3%. And then using the control and the shift keys, I'm going to highlight everything starting from, oops, a little too far there, sorry, from G3 all the way down to H12. So again, you can just click in G3, control and shift to go over one, and then down until you're down to H12. So once I have that set, I'm going to go to the Data tab, the What If Analysis, and Data Table. And before I actually click on it, this is where if you look back to our shortcut, I'm going to go back to the Home tab here. If I do Alt, and then you see Data pops up with an A there, so I would do A, and then What If Analysis would be W, and then the Data Table would be T. So Alt A W T, and you don't have to go that slow. You can really fly through if you know what you're doing. But anyway, so Boz, then what do we do here?
Yeah, trickiest part is you're going to select one of these boxes right here, and the correct answer is to click in that column input cell, and then you want to link to the share price. You want to link back over to cell. What is that, Ben?
A9.
A9.
There you
so
go,
help
cell
out my
A9.
old eyes. And I'll go ahead and click OK. And we can see that as the share price increases, that we don't have as much earnings growth, basically because we can't buy back as many shares. Now, a common pitfall, can you just delete, just kind of...
I'll go ahead and delete the middle part so I don't have to re-enter all of my data.
Exactly. So do this, highlight that same range and do the same thing, except...
Alt, A, W, T.
Yeah. But now I'll go ahead and put it in the row.
In the row. So let's go ahead and add in $80
$80 in the row.
And
it's just a bunch of garbage.
It's not happy with me. It's not going to do it. So I'm going to not do that and then end up in the correct one. And this time I'm just going to click on it because it's just as fast for right now.
Yeah, and before you click out of this, the easiest way for me to remember this is the stuff that we are changing, the $80 through $100, is in a column. And if you look down go to the data table box there, Ben, it says column input cell. All right, so the stuff that we're changing is in a column, not in a row. So
we hit OK.
Yeah, well, and honestly, sometimes you have to, you might get it wrong. You have to look at your results, make sure they're reasonable. And one final thing to look at, if we go to File, just to make sure you've got this right, and now go down to Options, and then go ahead and go to Formulas. Make sure that that's on automatic like it is right now. If you had it on manual or automatic except data tables, this would not give you a good result.
Exactly.
So, yep.
All right. Okay. So if we go on to our next one here, stock repurchase amount, we're looking at the same thing, right? So I'm going to link to the 1.3%. How does that earnings per share change if we spend more than just the $1 million? So we could do 0, or we could go all the way up to $9 million is what we're looking at here. And you see we have a slightly different format. We could do it just like we did right here. But we wanted to set it out the other way because sometimes you just want to present it the other way.
It's just kind of how the spreadsheet's laid out. Yep.
Exactly. So I'm going to start highlighting in K4, and then I'm going to go all the way to Q5 to finish it. What if analysis, data table again. And in this case, you see all of my inputs here are in a row. And so my row input cell is going to be linked to that $1 million. And so if I hit OK, and you can see, I like to check our base case when I'm doing these, where $1 million of repurchases gives me 1.3%. Well, hey, we have $1 million set up, and we calculate 1.3, so I know I'm good. And as you would expect, the more money that we spend on repurchases allows us to buy more back, which is going to drive earnings per share growth.
Yeah, so like you said, check it against the base case. So change it to $9 million in our key input right there. Now we can see the base case is 12.7% of an increase, and that also shows up on our data table here. So that's cool. We can see that earnings per share growth is highest when we have a low stock price, and then also a lot of buybacks. It'd almost be, how about it, be nice to see them together, wouldn't it,
boss?
That was a lame lead-in. So.
It is, but I was thinking doing the same one. It makes you feel better. So.
That does. So.
All right, well, it just so happens that we have it all pre-populated right here. Again, in the top left corner, I'm going to link to that percentage increase, 12.7 right now. And then I'm going to highlight everything. So starting in K11, ending in Q20, I got it all highlighted. What if analysis, data table. And we look at the row input cell. Boz, what do we have in our row here?
In the row is the share repurchase amount.
There we go. And what do we have in our column?
The share price amount.
There we go.
I like it when it just make me read letters and not tiny numbers.
And what cell is that, Boz?
No,
I'm just
no.
kidding.
I
all right.
not.
And so if we add all of those together, there we go. We're all set at 12.7%. And let's just, again, check the base case. $80 a share, $9 million. We'd expect to see 12.7. $80 a share, $9 million. We have our 12.7.
Yeah.
So,
I usually, whenever I'm doing an analysis in the real world, whenever one of the inputs is uncertain, right, I provide someone with my summary, but I also give them a data table like this, and it's just a way of showing, hey, this input is uncertain. Here's what I think a reasonable range is, and here's what the outcome is at those reasonable ranges.
Yeah, these are used all the time, and you know what a cool add-on is?
What is it?
Colors.
Right.
Colors. We can add colors.
I did know that.
A few different ways that we can do it. If I just highlight everything in my data table here, this little quick analysis pops up. And that's Excel being smart, saying, hey, you might want to add a color scale in there. And so you could do that, click on it, and it'll populate for you. And you can see our better ones are darker green.
Green like a
stoplight.
Green go.
Red is bad, though. You don't want to do that.
Stop.
Exactly. So that's one way to do it. You can mess around with these a lot. If you go to the Home tab under Conditional Formatting, there's a whole bunch of different scales you could do. You could
that's
switch
the one I would have used.
Right?
Nope, the one on the left. Go to the left. That's the one I would have used.
That's the one we already had in there.
That's
the default one.
That's good. So
but maybe you want it red to be good and green to be bad.
What if I wanted it to be like an American flag?
Hey, that's my favorite one.
Red, white, and blue. Right
there you go. So it really doesn't matter. It's just a way to help you make your presentations look more professional.
Totally. And the final thing we're going to show you today is the goal seek feature. So just a quick one. I honestly don't use this one as much, but it's quick, it's easy.
I use it when I'm messing around mostly.
Around, yeah. So what he did right there is he went data. Do it again. You just kind of did it.
Well, let's do the shortcut way.
Shortcut.
Alt,
okay.
A, W, and instead of hitting T for data table, we're going to do G for goal seek.
So let's say that we want a stock repurchase, an earnings per share increase of, I don't know, let's just say exactly 10%. We've got some different things. So
on the set cell one, sorry, I keep going ahead of here. On the set cell one, I go and choose what do I actually want to change. Well, at 12.7, I want that to be up to 10%. So I click on that one. It's D17. And then what do I want to change it to? I'm going to say 10%. I could do 0.10. That'd be just fine too. And then what am I actually going to change? Well, Boz, what do you want to change?
I want the stock repurchase amount here.
So we can only change one piece here. So stock repurchase amount, that was the $9 million that we have in there right now. So I hit OK. And it runs. It thinks about it. Hey, I found a solution, right? It gave me a value of 10%. And if I hit OK there, I see that I need to purchase $7,289,325 in order to have an EPS increase of 10%, as long as the average share price is $80 a share.
Yeah. So we'd have to change the average share price as well, just to see where it would pan out then. But I think, kind of a final note on all of these formulas are very specific. So if you didn't follow exactly what we did and have it set up exactly the same way, you would have encountered some sort of error. So really got to pay attention to the way things are set up with this one. So.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. What have we covered so far? Well, we talked about how to do a data table, how to do a goal seek, and how to do some conditional formatting. There are some hotkeys, but as you saw, a lot of times it's just faster to use your mouse to click through and set these ones up.
I think that's all we got.
All right. Don't forget to link your cells.
That's right. Take care, everyone. See you next time.